You know Thor, god of thunder, strongest avenger, blonde hair, perfect jaw, magic hammer that only the worthy can lift. That's the MCU version. The real Thor was a redhead with a beard, a temper that ended wars, and a hammer anyone could wield, if they were strong enough to lift 9 tons. He didn't fly. He rode a chariot pulled by 2 immortal goats he ate every night for dinner, and he wasn't even fully a god. The real Thor is darker, stranger, and more powerful than anything Marvel will ever put on screen. Let me show you who he actually was. Thor's mother was not Odin's wife. She was a Jotun, a giant. The same race of beings Thor would spend his entire life trying to destroy. Which means Thor is mostly giant, not a shining pure god, mostly the thing he hunts. And Odin himself, the All-Father, king of all the gods, was half giant. The rulers of Asgard weren't pure divine beings. They were giant blood wearing divine crowns. Nobody tells you that part. The gods of Asgard built their entire mythology on a lie, that they were the noble defenders of the 9 realms against the monstrous giants. But the line between god and giant was never clean. It was always blood. Mixed, ancient, inconvenient blood. And the weapon that made Thor the most feared warrior alive, it almost never existed, because of a fly. One day Loki, not Thor's brother in Norse mythology, his uncle, decided to shave Thor's wife's head while she slept. Why? Just typical Loki behavior. Thor found out. And when a being who is mostly giant finds out someone shaved his wife's head, someone usually dies. So Loki had to fix it. He went to the greatest blacksmiths in existence, the dwarves, and challenged them. Craft the greatest weapon ever made. They started forging, and it actually looked like the greatest weapon ever. So Loki panicked, transformed into a fly, and bit one of the dwarves in the eye mid-swing. The hammer came out perfect, except the handle was too short, because the dwarf flinched. That's Mjolnir, the most powerful weapon in the 9 realms, with a stubby handle, because Loki couldn't stop himself from cheating. And in Norse mythology, the hammer has nothing to do with worthiness. Anyone could wield it. The only problem was it weighed 9 tons. Thor was just the only being alive strong enough to pick it up. And the first time he used it in battle, he was wearing a wedding gown. The giants stole Mjolnir. Their ransom? Give us Freya, goddess of love, as a bride. Freya said absolutely not. So Heimdall, the wisest god in Asgard, had an idea. Dress Thor as Freya. Send the massive, red-bearded, rage-filled god of thunder to a giant wedding, in a dress, as the bride. They actually did this. The giants didn't notice. Even when fake Freya Thor ate an entire ox at the wedding feast. Even when he drank 40 liters of mead in one sitting. When they finally presented the groom with Mjolnir as a wedding gift, Thor grabbed it, dropped the veil, and slaughtered every single person at that wedding. The groom, the guests, everyone. Because that's Thor's method. Kill everyone in the room, and the problem is solved. But there was one creature Thor could never finish off, no matter how many times they met. Jormungandr, the world serpent. Born from Loki's bloodline, this creature was a beast of such titanic proportions that its body coiled around the entire planet, biting its own tail in the dark abyss. Their long rivalry began with a simple fishing trip, when Thor joined the giant Hymir on his boat. Thor was not there to catch fish. Instead, he baited his hook with the severed head of a massive ox, cast the line into the deepest depths of the ocean, and waited in the heavy silence. Suddenly, the sea went completely still, right before the line pulled with terrifying force. Emerging from the black water was the dripping, venomous head of Jormungandr itself, its massive eyes locking onto the god as the boat cracked under the immense strain. Thor seized his hammer, ready to end the monster with a single, brutal swing, but the giant Hymir panicked. Terrified of bringing about the end of the world, Hymir grabbed his knife and cut the line, sending the serpent crashing back into the dark. Though a furious Thor punched the giant overboard and shattered the vessel, the kill had been stolen from him, but the line was destined to be cast one last time, at the end of the world. In Norse mythology, there are no happy endings, only Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. The apocalypse begins with 3 consecutive brutal winters, with no summers in between. As the sun fades, the stars vanish, and humanity descends into chaos, with brothers turning on brothers before a single god even draws a sword. As the sky fractures, the giants of Jotunheim begin their march on Asgard, while Jormungandr uncoils from the ocean floor, causing catastrophic floods that swallow the land. The fire giant Surtur leads his burning army from Muspelheim, wielding a sword hotter than the dead sun, and Loki, breaking free from his eternal chains, sails a horrific ship made of dead men's fingernails toward the final battlefield. Knowing the prophecies foretold their inevitable defeat, the gods ride out to face their doom anyway. Odin is swallowed whole by the colossal wolf Fenrir, but Thor does not see his father fall. He has already found his ultimate nemesis. Facing Jormungandr on a flooding field with a cracking sky above them, Thor swings Mjolnir with everything he has, unleashing 3,000 years of hatred against the serpent's acidic venom and massive coils. In a clash that splits the ground beneath them, Thor finally beats the world serpent to death. Yet, the victory is a quiet illusion. As the massive beast collapses, Thor turns to walk away, taking exactly 9 steps, as foretold by the ancient sagas. The first 3 are steady, his giant blood still pulsing with victory. But by step 4, Jormungandr's black poison begins to dissolve his veins. His legs fail him, his iron grip slips, and Mjolnir, the hammer that broke heaven, crashes into the ash. On the 9th step, the god of thunder collapses, dying alone on a burning field of venom and silence, far from the clean redemption arcs and triumph of modern superheroes. The tragedy of the real Thor lies in this very bloodline, as every giant he slaughtered was, by blood, his own family. He chose to defend Asgard over his mother's lineage, waging a silent war against his own veins until the end. While Marvel built a modern hero who learns, grows, and earns his hammer through a moral journey of worthiness, the mythological Thor was born to be the strongest brute on the battlefield. He didn't need to earn worthiness. He needed to survive the conflict within himself. He chose his side, held the line, and died holding it, leaving behind a legacy so dark that out of all his blood-soaked deeds, the only thing our modern world kept is a simple day of the week, Thursday. Thor's Day. That's what survived. The gods of Norse mythology knew their world would end. They knew Ragnarok was written. They feasted anyway, fought anyway, filled Valhalla with warriors for a final battle they were going to lose. Because in the old stories, how you face the end matters more than the end itself. The MCU gave Thor a redemption arc and a happy ending. The real Thor got 9 steps and a field of ash. Both versions say something true. Marvel's version says anyone can grow. Norse mythology's version says some things are bigger than any single warrior, even the strongest one who ever lived. There's more in Norse mythology that deserves its own video. Loki's real story, Odin's sacrifice, Ragnarok in full, or Utgar the Loki, the day Thor lost 3 times and still nearly broke the world. I'm Ancient Legends, and the next legend is already waiting.